Hey pilots, Bori here, and today I've got 7 advanced drone movements for you to get even more creative with your drone. Now before I head into them, let's go over some of the basics. First, you need to nail your camera settings, which I made a video about. Just click on the link above. And then afterwards, what you're gonna need to do is you also need to make sure that you understand the very basics of composition. Again, in my previous video where I reviewed 7 easy drone moves, you can also find something about composition. So once you've got that thing sorted, let's head on over into the actual drone movements themselves. Now, the rocket is a move that emphasizes the height of the subject that you're filming. You can also use this for cliffs, but with the lack of that stuff here in the Netherlands, let's go for tall buildings instead. So nearby we have a church, and in order to emphasize the height of this church, I want to start with a camera position that shows only the church, nothing of the lower buildings around it, and move the drone forward up and over the church while keeping the camera on the specific bit of the church that I want to film. And as soon as you move the drone up and over, the camera will start angling downwards, revealing the scenery of the city and showing you just how tall this church is. This move works better when you have a longer focal length. Since the drone that I'm using, which is the Mini 5 Pro here, only has 1 camera length, I could do it zoomed in, but that will reduce some quality. If you have a more expensive drone like a Air 3S or even a Mavic 4 or even, God forbid, an Inspire, but why are you watching this? It will look nicer because you get more of that parallax effect. Your DJI drone, if you're using one, has a hyperlapse function. Now, let's briefly explain what a hyperlapse is if you've never done any of that. Basically, film is a series of pictures, right? Currently, you're watching at my face at 30 FPS, which means my camera is taking 30 pictures per second, and those pictures lined up will make our brain form it into a moving image. And a hyperlapse is exactly the same, but there is time in between each picture. So while there is hardly any time in between the pictures that you're currently looking at, when you do a hyperlapse, there is a larger gap of time in between the pictures. And when you stitch them all back together, it appears as if time is moving very fast. Now, hyperlapses are not exclusive to your drone, but they are really cool to show drone footage, especially when you have things going on like traffic, it's getting dark, the sun is setting, large portions of clouds are going overhead, you name it. And the most classic movement to use with a hyperlapse is either a push in or a pull back. Let's go out to the church again and I'll show you how it's done. Now, I said I was going to do a push-in hyperlapse on the church over there, but instead I went for the waterfront. As you can see, there's quite some boats going on the water today because it's such nice weather, and I'm going to make a hyperlapse out of it and teach you how to do it. So with the drone up in the air, I'm going to press this button, scroll down this menu to select hyperlapse. In this menu, you can choose what hyperlapse to take, and I went ahead with the free hyperlapse. This means I'll have to keep the stick moving forward as I do my push-in shot. Now, as you can see, it's making a picture every 2 seconds, and the final result is this hyperlapse. Pretty sweet. Now for shot number 3 and 4, I visited the windy Dutch countryside with Bella the cow. We're gonna jump into the car and we're gonna execute 2 shots outside with a moving subject. And let me tell you, shots with a moving subject are always the most difficult to pull off. But the first one is not super difficult, even though it took me 2 or 3 shots to get it right. What we're going to do is we're going to start in front of the car, move backwards and fly over the road that the car is driving on so that we end up alongside on the other side and we trail the car. Let's jump into the car and show you what that looks like. So I've got the car in active track mode. The way to do it is you press active track on the left or focus track. And now I'm going to select the car and it will reframe. I don't like this framing, so first things first, I'm going to have to make the gimbal lower a little bit, tilt downward. And for this, I'm just going to center the car into frame. Now, to make this effect a little nicer, I want to do it with a 2x zoom. And since we have a very windy day and the drone will not be able to speed up through the wind, I'm going to go downwind for this shot and I put the drone into sports mode. Now notice that you don't have your collision avoidance, so be careful to not fly your drone into anything. Next thing that we're going to do is just going to let the car start and the car is going to overtake and then we're going to pass over the road. So hit the throttle there, driver. Press record. There we're going to go. I think we have the shot. The second one is even more difficult because we're going to be trucking like this, out of frame. We're going to be trucking alongside the car and then moving backwards to reveal the beautiful fields of the Netherlands. And let me tell you, it's not that simple, especially with wind like this, to be able to maneuver the drone so that the car stays roughly in the center of the frame takes some practice, which is what you're going to do now that you've got this idea planted in your head. But here's how my practice runs went.
Ja. Kut. Ik ben hem al kwijt.
And here's how to pull it off.
So yeah, we're right next to the subject and we move as parallel to it as we can, and all you want to do is move the drone in a pullback motion to reveal the larger landscape.
Hey, this is Editing Ori from the future, and I want to talk to you briefly about Dehancer. Dehancer contacted me to ask me to try their software and show it to you guys. And to be honest, at first I was a little bit hesitant because I'm not the type of person to really thoroughly enjoy color grading, and I think I'm quite bad at it. But I gave it a shot anyway, and I must say it turned out to be quite nice because I can get a color graded look, or at least a filmic look, without having to go through all of these steps that you would otherwise need to do to get the same effect. And for a person like me who doesn't like to color grade a lot, I think it's quite a nice bit of software that adds a nice touch. So for example, you can drag an adjustment layer on top of your timeline, add Dehancer Pro to it, and you can adjust things like bloom, halation. That gives a sort of nice fuzzy feeling to hard outlines, and it warms up your image. It makes it look a little bit, I don't know, more cinematic, right? If you want to try out Dehancer, you can click on the link down below, and if you use my code, then you get 10% off. All right, let's go back to the video. What's really cool when you do drone footage is to show depth. And sometimes when the drone is flying really high up in the sky, the depth is not there. You just look at landscape. And if the landscape is not as mesmerizing as the Icelandic landscape or the rolling hills of southern England, when there's a little bit of mist and some beautiful sun, well, you catch the drift. When the landscape is not that interesting, what you're going to need to do is to create some depth. And depth is created by using foreground and background elements. And the drone has a very nice feature, is that it's not attached to anything, so it can fly straight through stuff. And when you fly straight through things, you have a foreground element, which is the gap moving closer, and then it will reveal a background element. Very cool to do with rock formations, architecture, a bunch of trees, you name it. Now, to start flying through gaps, actually it's not that difficult with a cinema drone. Now you may want to get comfortable flying in sport mode, because if you fly in normal or cinematic mode, the obstacle avoidance sensors will be turned on, and that limits the size of the gap that you can fly through. Now, I don't want to advise you to start flying through the tiniest gaps straight away. If you fly through small gaps, what will happen is you might not have the confidence. You will start steering mid-footage. And I've mentioned it a couple of times before, I'll mention it again. If you make a drone shot, you do not want any jerky movements in the middle of it because it looks absolutely freaking bad. And we want to avoid that because we want our shots to look really, really good. Start big. Contrary to what most people say is when they say start small, in this case, starting small is starting big. So first you gotta take a gap, fly through a gap that you feel really comfortable flying through, and go smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until you get to a gap where people think like, is the drone gonna fly through it? Is it? And then yeah, you're gonna fly through it. But it doesn't necessarily have to be a super tight gap for it to look nice, as long as it's giving you creative touch. Now next up, we've got a dolly zoom, and the dolly zoom is where you move your camera, or in this case your drone, backwards while zooming in, keeping the subject at roughly the same size, and thus shrinking the background, giving you a weird vertigo-like sensation of depth. It's a bit of a gimmick, but I think it's still pretty cool, and it has its uses when you want to, get creative with your shot. In order to do this, you need to move the drone backwards while zooming in. And zooming happens with this dial, and it's not the easiest one to control, so you might want to dive into your settings and set the zoom at a level that you think is useful, and find a subject that is nice to film.
And since I lack total creativity, I once again went for the church here and figured that this would be a good subject. Now, I noticed from previous tries that I had to put the drone into sport mode for it to move backwards fast enough for me to keep up with the level of zoom. And here I'm moving backwards and zooming in, and you can see how weird the background is sort of expanding while the church stays at roughly the same. And then this is what the final result looks like, which I think looks pretty sweet and pretty weird. Get up on it and do, get up on it and do, my channel's thriving on its own.
I found this place behind me. I didn't even know it was there because it wasn't here last winter. I think they drove two seafaring containers here with a complete bar inside, but it looks pretty cool. So I'm gonna make a descending orbit around this to show off what the place looks like and to end up with the big money shot where the church is in the distance. You can see that it's a nice waterfront place, which I think is a great use for this type of stuff, right? You can make a general orbit, or if you do a descending or ascending orbit, it just shows you a little bit extra of the neighborhood while keeping centered on the subject. So once again, Droney McDroneface is going up in the sky. You can see a little LiDAR there. Luckily, it's not too much to destroy my camera sensor. And as we're up here, I'm going up, and you can see I am in tracking mode, as it wants to track all these 10,000 humans, but instead I'm dragging a nice circle or square around this place. Now for this shot, I thought this was too zoomed in, so I went to my normal zoom, and while you're in active track, it's not that difficult. As long as you push your right stick to the right, it'll start making an orbit. And now if you pull your left stick downward ever so slightly, it'll make an orbit while staying centered on the subject, and thus revealing more and more of the sky and the background. It's so simple, even a baby can do it. Thank you so much for watching. Those were 7 drone movements. I wouldn't actually call it 7 drone movements, but 7 creative new ways of using your drone to get aerial footage that no other type of camera allows you to. And I really would like to see you practice with this. Did I miss anything? Do you think there are other drone movements that are within the advanced category that I haven't talked about? Please drop a comment down below. Tell me which drone movement you would like to see me teach you, but other pilots as well. And I'll go ahead and do that. And while you're at it, if this video is beneficial to you and if you learned something, then I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel. That way you will get notified by new videos teaching you things about flying cinema drones, but also FPV drones. And hit the like button. It helps me with the algorithm. Then I can make more videos like this and teach you more cool stuff. For now, I'm Ori, and if you want to keep watching, click this video because it will teach you something really cool. Adios.